Part of the algorithms are very simple. Basically, it's spotting small mini activities, small motion patterns, looking at how similar they are to other motion patterns, and then trying to extract from this a kind of model, a kind of meaning that might map one-to-one to activities. So part of those are algorithms that are very simple, but still need to work, and also need to work on small microcontroller-driven devices. For that you need often fast abstraction of the data that's online, so basically part of the thing is also, the challenge is also to make all of this work really on a small device that is also power hungry, or often tries to be power hungry. So our algorithms, or the way we handle the data, is usually, or has a direct result, the fact that the data is, or that the device is sometimes very power hungry. Okay, I guess these slides are old. Something that I inserted but didn't make it, I guess, is one thing that might be of interest, is the fact that we also have done algorithms that look on the larger time scale, so modeling over several months, for instance, the activities that people tend to do during weekdays or weekend days, and model the type of rhythms that people have towards activities, or the activities they exhibit. Now this is something we want to take forward, for which I got a naming neutral grant, which basically means that in the next 5 years our effort will be to do the long-term activity even longer than we have up until now. For now we have several users that have worn it for 3 months, but we want to do this activity monitoring for longer periods, for more activities, and to have that as a baseline, basically as a baseline data set for our algorithms. This is one of our PhD students who did it for himself for several weeks as well, together with picture taking, so that he always knew kind of what was happening. That's of course also an outstanding problem for us, how to really get to this ground truth, what was really happening versus what our algorithms think was happening. Right, so to conclude, what I presented was activity recognition, which is not actigraphy. It's hopefully a lot more fine-grained, so it does not just show what people were doing, or how intense people were moving at a certain point of time, but also what they were doing, what type of motions they were doing, and what type of physical activity. Lots of applications are identified, but at the moment, in psychiatry at least, it's completely new. The Porcupine sensor is, yes, cheap, but our focus is mainly on the software, and that's where I think still the main challenges are, and where we still need to prove ourselves. And I'm basically starting a 5-year project to really validate this, or trying or hoping to validate this. More information can be found on the SourceForge website, which is basically an open source collection of projects, so that's where the Porcupine project is one part of it, or my group's website at Darmstadt, where you can find contact details and also papers with more details in it. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much indeed, very interesting. I wonder if you see this as the ACTI monitoring equivalent of the e-monitoring tool that was described, and hence potentially indeed extremely valuable in all sorts of clinical applications. 2 questions. Firstly, how many subjects did you have per activity when you were trying to decode the sensory information?
It depends on the type of work we've been using. For instance, for this Hapkido user that you saw, we had only, we had 12 participants who all did the exercise for several times, for several weeks. Other things, like for instance the longer term things we had, there's only 3 users there. And also depends on the user whether they exercise or whether they do the activity for more time or not. So basically, some participants there slept a lot more than others, and therefore we have a lot more data. Also important is that most of this stuff is very personal, so we do interpersonal results and also personal. So personal are usually much better. So one of the challenges is also to try to get this to be trained on one person specifically and to use on one person specifically. Then the accuracy, precision and recall are going up dramatically.
Kristof, maybe you want to explain the concept of ground truth, which is quite new to someone with psychiatric background. So they have this way of validating this by actually, can you tell a bit more about ground truth?
The way of validating is very logical. You basically have the recordings and the ground truth, what really happened during those recordings. You just see what, for your algorithms, you just test what they predict and then corresponds, just counts true and false, positive and negatives, and then you get your measures. So I think it's pretty well established.
Sure, thank you. Another way of doing it might have been to, say, record alongside an actograph, in which one usually presses the button to say what you're doing, say, or the eye monitor or something. Have you considered in the long-term study that you're about to embark on using another measure of some sort to compare with?
Well, I'm not sure if it's exactly the same, but basically in this field there's three types of ways to get this ground truth, and they have their own problems all. One of them is self-recall, in which the persons try afterwards, after say half a day, to recall what they were doing, exactly when. Another one is time diary, which I guess is close to this one, where they basically constantly monitor on something similar as Yanni has shown, where they basically, when they start an activity, basically just press a button on the device. And another one is where they get buzzed every half an hour, for instance, which then asks, what type of activity are you doing now? Those are the three types. I think, in general, nobody says that one of them is... Now, this is something we want to take forward, for which I got a name neutre grant, which basically means that in the next 5 years, our effort will be to do the long-term activity even longer than we have up until now. For now, we have several users that have worn it for 3 months, but we want to do this activity monitoring for longer periods, for more activities, and to have that as a baseline, basically as a baseline data set for our algorithms. This is one of our PhD students who did it for himself for several weeks as well, together with picture taking, so that he always knew kind of what was happening. That's of course also an outstanding problem for us, how to really get to this ground truth, what was really happening versus what our algorithms think was happening. Right, so to conclude, what I presented was activity recognition, which is not actigraphy. It's hopefully a lot more fine-grained, so it does not just show what people were doing, or how intense people were moving at a certain point of time, but also what they were doing, what type of motions they were doing, and what type of physical activity. Lots of applications are identified, but at the moment, in psychiatry at least, it's completely new. The Porcupine sensor is, yes, cheap, but our focus is mainly on the software, and that's where I think still the main challenges are, and where we still need to prove ourselves. And I'm basically starting a 5-year project to really validate this, so trying or hoping to validate this. More information can be found on the SourceForge website, which is basically an open source collection of projects, so that's where the Porcupine project is one part of it, or my group's website at Darmstadt, where you can find